Welcome to This Week in East Brunswick. This week, candidates for the East Brunswick Board of Education squared off in a televised forum sponsored by the PTA President's Council. The annual Daisy Breakfast was held this week at the Ramada Renaissance, and 2 cultural festivals were held in East Brunswick Public Schools this week. At Bowne, Munro, students celebrated American Indian cultures, and at Frost School, Amy Fisher, Director of Community Relations for the schools, spoke with a visiting Russian teacher during that school's multicultural fair. All of these stories and more are coming up, but first here's a rundown of programming for the first week in April on Channel 8. Monday morning, join Lenore Kulik for half aerobics, half weights on Look Great, Feel Great at 10. At 10:30, Youth Services librarian Chris Lott reads stories about cats on Stories from the Library. Monday evening, tune in for information about the Board of Education's proposed budget at 7 p.m. and a look at the Board of Education candidates at 8 o'clock. Tuesday evening, investigate tax advantage investments for 1993 with Paul Hansen. That's on You and Your Money at 7:30. At 8 o'clock Tuesday, get your voice ready for a night with the Deans of Harmony on Exercise the Right Choice. Judith Ledline is serenaded by a barbershop quartet. On Wednesday, travel to the high school with Superintendent of Schools, Dr. John Kopko, to find out how East Brunswick High School was chosen as a National School of Excellence. That's on Spotlight on Education at 7:30. And at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, join Laura Ivan for 18, Growing Up in East Brunswick. This Week in East Brunswick returns Thursday night at 7 and 8 o'clock, and at 7:30, Steve Sackman discusses pending pharmaceutical legislation with 2 area pharmacists on Let's Talk Health. Tune in to Channel 8 on Saturday for a complete rundown of the week's programming. Check the Community Bulletin Board for details. The East Brunswick Board of Education has an election coming up on April 20th. Monday night at the library, 7 candidates for 3 open seats fielded questions from the audience during a forum shown live on Channel 8. The forum, sponsored by the East Brunswick PTA President's Council, is held annually and provides an opportunity for East Brunswick residents to learn more about board candidates. This year there are 3 open seats, but only 2 incumbents are running again. Board member Donald DeCenzo has chosen not to run again, while incumbents Norma Teicher and Robert Van Wagner are hoping to be re-elected. 5 other township residents are competing for the open seats. They are Michael K. Baker, Bertram Buckler, Neil Rosen, Michael DeLuca, and Ann Taylor Harris.
If elected, I would work to influence the board to think long-term and to articulate a strategic direction which reflects the goals of the community and which focuses on spending in the areas that affect the most students. When I think of the East Brunswick I would like to be a part of, I see a place where diversity in goals, as well as cultural backgrounds and physical ability, is celebrated, where success is redefined by readiness to live independently and contribute to society, not by the college you attend.
A foundation is the most important part of a structure. It holds up and supports all the parts of a structure. It is the starting point. A foundation could also be the part of an educational system that builds to create a learning experience for all children. The teachers are the first part of that foundation that creates a quality education. That foundation will be built in this district by the former teachers and has continued to grow. A foundation can also be the basis on which an idea is built.
There has been a tremendous increase in costs to the community that can ill afford to spend those dollars. And all I hear, and justifiably so perhaps, is good for the children, and I support good for the children. But what about good for the taxpayer? What about good for the senior citizen? What about good for the parents who aren't those that have the 5 or 10% of the gifted situation?
But I am frightened at the financial pressures that school districts face, along with attitudes of those who would look to the past instead of the future, threatens our wonderful accomplishments. I moved to East Brunswick because of its schools, and I want to protect their excellence. I applaud the achievements to date, but have a passionate desire to move forward and do even more to ensure that my son and your children are prepared to meet the challenges of the 21st century.
Things are a little tougher everywhere. As a result, all the taxpayers are becoming more vigilant and are demanding tighter fiscal controls. We can no longer use the old cliches of for the children and the children are our future to cover up waste, mismanagement, and educational programs that are of dubious value or do not work. To think that the answer to our problems is more state aid and more federal aid is pure folly.
The voters of our community want two things. They want excellence in education, and they want fiscal responsibility. They are willing to invest in the future of our children, but they are unwilling to squander their tax dollars away. That is the commitment that I have. I will continue to evaluate and ensure that each dollar is spent wisely. I will continue to strive for an independent approach to the problems of our schools. I will continue to ensure that each school develops the full potential of each and every one of our children.
While still in the audience, I successfully lobbied the board to let the public speak at the beginning of each meeting, and I'm proud that that's still going on. For 6 years, while I held the board seat, I critically scrutinized every issue that came before the board, and I asked probing questions before accepting any recommendation for board action. I've always believed that people who've been placed on the board should never abstain on issues. Vote yes or no, but remember that the public puts you there to vote, not to be wishy-washy.
The Candidates Forum can be seen again on Channel 8 on Monday, April 5th at 8 p.m., Wednesday, April 14th at 3:30, and Monday, April 19th at 7 p.m.
The 10th annual breakfast to benefit Camp Daisy was held this past Sunday at the Ramada Renaissance Hotel. Despite the rainy weather, the breakfast raised more than $10,500 for Daisy, a township-sponsored program for handicapped children. Here's coordinator Captain Ralph Lamo.
My name is Ralph Lamo. I'm a captain with the East Brunswick Special Police, and in conjunction with the East Brunswick Local 145 PBA and our organization, we are sponsoring this annual breakfast. This is our 10th annual breakfast, and over the years we've raised almost $100,000 for Camp Daisy and the handicapped children. This year we hope to break all records. It's our 10th year. It's a big year, and with the cooperation of many people, especially Ramada people. I shouldn't say Ramada, they're not Ramada anymore, it's just the Renaissance people. They donate this gorgeous building and their staff. They have over 50 volunteers from the Renaissance working here, plus their kitchen staff and their managers. Plus we have 90 volunteers that come from our people. All the food is donated. There are no expenses whatever. All the money that's raised, and it's usually in the area of $12,000, $13,000 we raise on this one-day affair. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the donors who donate the food, people like Plum Rose who give us all the ham and the bacon, people like Kraft Food Service who donate the eggs and the pancakes. We have the Cremo Land Dairy gives us all the milk and butter and orange juice. And I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody. But Continental Baking gives us 1,000 donuts. Drake's Cake gives us 1,000 coffee cakes. The Ramada donates the milk and butter pats. There's so many people. And if I left anybody out, I apologize. And of course, all the wonderful people of our town who buy the tickets. And thanks especially to the mayor, Oskowski, and our township council who go to great lengths to help us in this effort. In fact, they're all going to be here today waiting on tables and whatnot. And they'll do whatever we ask them to do. Thank you again.
Hi, I'm Amy Fisher, and today I'm at Munro School with Valerie Rubinskis, who's the art teacher, and Carlotta Miller, who's the 5th grade teacher. Mrs. Miller, what's happening here today?
Well, we're very excited about today. We have a Native American fair going on in which all of the classes from the school are coming down in small groups, and our children, who have really focused on learning a lot about different Native Americans, are explaining to them where the Indians lived, how they lived, what they ate, what kind of art they did, what kind of ceremonies they did, and each child plays a special part in the demonstration, and then they are doing a dance in which they learned that in the gym class. They are eating foods from the Native Americans, just every single part of the culture that we could do.
And Val, how did the art classes get involved in this project?
Well, we do a lot of cross-curriculum projects here at Bowne Munro. And what we did is we had the children create a village to portray the Indians that they're studying, so that the children created these houses of paper mache, and then they used modeling clay to model the figures, and we put trees and branches and things in. And then besides the villages, they were studying the different kind of artifacts and arts and crafts that the Indians, for each particular tribe. And so that surrounding the houses we have pot shards with replicas of the designs of the Pueblo Indians, and some basketry, and different kinds of sand discs and gourds, rattles.
Well, how many teachers altogether were involved in this project?
There were 4 teachers involved. We had the gym teacher, Leslie Gattner, involved. She helped with teaching the dance. We had the art teacher, Valerie, and we had Mrs. Raby, the social studies teacher, and myself.
What were some of the projects that were done in each of the classes?
Okay. In the language arts classes, the children each wrote a research paper based on one of the groups of Indians. They also read 2 novels, The Indian in the Cupboard and The Sign of the Beaver. In gym classes, they learned the dance, and in the art classes, they made everything that you see here today. In social studies classes, that is where they really laid the groundwork for all of these projects, and they developed lessons in which they went into the 3rd grade and they taught them what they knew.
And all the classes in the school are visiting here in the all-purpose room today?
Yes, every class in the school is coming down here to our festival.
Great, thanks.
Hi, welcome back once again to Your Pet Doctor. I'm Dolly Vaster, your host, and my co-host is...
I'm Dr. Brian Johnson from the Cranberry Veterinary Hospital in East Brunswick.
Yes, and we're going to interrupt a series that we had started because in the paper a few days ago was an article that was talking about the feline form of AIDS among cats, and it was a rather large article. And I thought there might be a slight case of hysteria among people because they said it's not really similar to AIDS.
No, it's not.
The HIV virus.
It has a similar action, but it's a scare tactic, unfortunately used by sometimes the media to generate sales. FIV is actually feline immunodeficiency syndrome, and it's a virus disease that has an immunosuppressive action or suppresses the immune system of the cat, similar to AIDS in humans. But it is not transmissible, nor is there any connection between the 2 diseases, and it does the cats a great injustice to give them the name. It's incorrectly called feline AIDS. More appropriately, it should be FIV.
All right, so that absolutely has nothing to do with the HIV in humans.
This has got to be a first. We agree 100%.
Yes, that is a first.
But yes, it has nothing to do with the HIV infection of humans.
And also, from what I understand, is that it's very similar, though, to feline leukemia.
They're both immunosuppressive viruses. They both suppress the immune system, and allow other things to cause problems, such as bacterial infection. If a normal cat gets a little bite wound, he might take a couple of days and heal it himself. The HIV virus, FIV virus, would cause such an immune suppression that would turn into a big infection.
But there are tests. So if anyone in our audience really suspects anything is wrong, there are tests for both leukemia and the
Yes,
feline.
one simple blood test, you can test for both of these viruses. And if anyone is interested, we can send them a booklet.
Oh, that's
and
right.
what it does
It's right
is
here.
cover the 3 major virus diseases of cats, and it will explain what they are. It's feline leukemia, feline immunodeficiency syndrome, and feline infectious peritonitis. It's free. If they'll just let us know what their address is, we'll be glad to send it to them, and it will clarify a lot of questions.
I'm sure it will.
But there's no need for anyone to worry if their cat is positive for feline immunodeficiency syndrome, that it's going to go to them or any member of their family other than another cat, and it's spread by the bite wound of the cat.
So, okay then. If you have any questions, call your own veterinarian, or you can call the Cranberry Veterinarian Hospital, and they will send you out this booklet. We'll see you all next weekend. We will continue with our series then. Take care.
Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Amy Fisher, and today I'm at Frost School, and here's Dolores Susick, the school nurse, who has a very special guest. Dolores, would you introduce your guest to us?
Very happily so. This is Ludmilla Vershinina, who has come from Kirov, Russia, to stay with me in my home for about 2.5 weeks and spend time in the East Brunswick school system.
Now, how did all this get started?
Well, I read about a program called, an international program called Hands Across the Water, which was an exchange of educators between Russia and the United States, and I applied. I was accepted, and I had the good fortune last October to go and spend 17 days living with Ludmilla, her daughter, and her husband, and spending time in her school and then going to other schools. In other words, I did in Kirov, Russia, what Ludmilla is doing here with me now.
Well, Ludmilla, we really welcome you, and we know you've been around the district and seen a lot of our students and teachers. What do you find that's similar here to your school in Russia?
I think kids are kids everywhere. I see that sometimes, most of the time, they are hardworking students. Sometimes they are lazy, as ours. They may be naughty and noisy during the breaks. So kids are kids everywhere, to my mind. As for the teachers, I saw many devoted teachers, creative teachers, talented teachers, teachers who love kids very much. And I may say the same words about our Russian teachers.
Tell us a little bit about your school in Russia. What kind of a school do you have?
I work at a secondary school. It has number 51. Students come to our school at the age of 7 and stay in our school till they are 17. So just from the first grade up to the 11th grade. It's the difference. They learn different subjects: the Russian language, the Russian literature, maths, history, geography, biology, physical education, home economics, arts, computer studies. I think the same subjects are taught here in East Brunswick and in other towns of New Jersey.
Now, you've also had a chance to tour around a little bit. What have you found to be the most fun since you've been here?
At schools? Do you mean at schools?
And, well, just even anywhere in the whole tour that you've done outside of the schools.
First of all, your schools are better equipped than ours. Your teachers have more appliances. They are happier than ours. Our teachers have to do many things with their own hands. Well, you have more computers than we do. As for our school, we have a computer class, but we would like to have more computers. Well, I've seen Washington. Dolores Susick took me to Washington last Friday, and we stayed there till Sunday. I read much about your wonderful capital. I saw many of the buildings of Washington in the pictures and on TV. I've seen films, but you may imagine my feelings when I saw everything in reality.
I can imagine you were impressed.
I was greatly impressed. And people who are so kind to me and generous are also impressive. I didn't expect what I see and what I have here.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. And I know, Dolores, you had the same feeling when you were in Russia. That
Yes, when I came home, I kept telling people how I didn't really know what to expect living with a family in a very different country, different culture. And Ludmilla, after I was in their home 2 hours maybe, I felt like part of their family. That's just how they made me feel.
That's wonderful.
And I feel comfortable here. My hostess is a very kind and generous woman. We are dear friends now, I believe.
Well, that's great. You can tell us about the vest.
Yes, I'm getting. Yes, I did want to mention this vest. This was a surprise to all of us here at Frost. One of our parents, Mrs. Terry Von Deesten, made this totally on her own and presented it to Ludmilla this afternoon, and we've all been awed by the workmanship and the creativity in it. And Ludmilla keeps saying her friends will be quite surprised when they come to her apartment and she opens the door wearing this vest.
And you're having a fair here today. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happened with this cultural fair you're having?
Yes, when I started with that Hands Across the Water program, we wanted the students here to learn more about Russia and the culture, and mainly the 5th grades. And this Russian fair was pulled together, and we wanted the students to have an idea of some of the old customs. Also, we have collected articles that were brought back from Russia by some of our students who went last summer, some of the things I brought back, and we had other students who had things that were in the family. So we just wanted to give the Frost students a little cross-section. We have one of our parents, Mrs. Parker, who is teaching them over there how to paint on styrofoam cups so it comes out looking like the lacquered ware that is so beautiful from Russia.
That's wonderful. Well, Ludmilla, we hope you come back again. We'd like to have you come back and see more, and I know Dolores would like to go back to Russia.
Let's hope for the best.
Thank you very much.
On Tuesday night at the library, local resident and historian Richard Walling took his audience back in time to learn about the early days of East Brunswick.
So, what I'd like to do first is just show you sort of an outline map of what was to become the township of East Brunswick. Remember, the township is just man-made borders. It's a subdivision of the land. If you go back to the maps of 300 years ago, there is no township of East Brunswick. East Brunswick was not formally created until about 130 years ago, 1860, just before the American Civil War. Prior to that, it was part of North Brunswick, and even before that, there was just the land. And East Brunswick is basically formed. Here's the Lawrence Brook. Okay, if you know the Lawrence Brook stream, Farrington Lake, Wessons Mill Pond, that's all part of the Lawrence Brook. It goes all the way from South Brunswick. North Brunswick would be to the north. East Brunswick is below the stream. And Milltown is divided by the Lawrence Brook. If you drive through Milltown near the Hess station and you see that body of water, that little bridge you go over, that's the Lawrence Brook. The Lawrence Brook is a tributary to the Raritan River. The Raritan River goes all the way from central New Jersey. It flows past New Brunswick all the way out towards South Amboy and Perth Amboy until it enters into Raritan Bay. Another main tributary or branch of the Raritan River is the South River. The South River goes in a southerly direction off the Raritan, and right now South River Borough is named after the South River. To the east of the South River is Saraville. And if you continue down, the South River continues, forms a big bulge, and then cuts to the west. And at that big bulge is the site of Old Bridge, the village of Old Bridge, most of which is in the township of East Brunswick. Some is in Saraville, some is in Old Bridge Township, but the village itself, which is behind Movie City 5, go down the hill, that's Old Bridge Historic District. And then as the South River winds its way towards the west, it branches off in Spotswood into two streams. Those two streams are named after Indian words, the Manalapan and the Machaponix. In Lenni Lenape language, Manalapan meant land that produces good bread. Machaponix, what do you think? If Manalapan, which sounds nice, meant land that produces good bread, what do you think Machaponix might mean? Exactly, land that produces bad bread, Machaponix. It even sounds like a negative word. What's interesting is we all live here, we live our lives, we have our friends, we go to our parties and our games, but we don't ever stop to realize that people had lived in this area for nearly 10,000 years. The Lenni Lenape is the name of the Indians that the Europeans met. But before the Lenni Lenape, there were Indians called Paleo Indians. Literally, well, when you think of cave people, though they didn't live in caves around here, the Paleo Indians, and they've been in this area for well over about 10,000 and perhaps even a little bit more than 10,000. And all throughout the area, you can go, and even to this day, you can find their artifacts that they left behind.